Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words. We're going to get some legacy going today, and we are going to play a deck that I love, which is called Dredge. The reason it's called Dredge is because of the Dredge mechanic, where you replace your draw step with milling cards to return this from your graveyard to your hand. Essentially what this deck does is try to dump as much of its library into the graveyard as possible and get payoffs for things like Icarid, which comes back from the graveyard, Narcomy, which comes back from the graveyard, and then you have Bridge from Below to make a load of guys when you're Cabal therapying things. And then you also have Hogak that you can bring back. But essentially the things that I think make this deck tick is the fact that you're operating on an axis that most other decks don't. So you're not really playing a normal game of Magic. So a lot of decks can't really interact with you and you can just steamroller through them. So we've got a little tiny mana base here. And we've got some Lion's Eye Diamonds to help us power out things. So there are some builds that don't run Lion's Eye Diamonds and some builds that don't even run lands. I think you want these because I think it makes your sideboarding stronger. So essentially what you want to do is cast a Breakthrough and then crack Lion's Eye Diamond in response on turn 1. And you're probably in a pretty good shape there to mill a big chunk of your deck, put a load of creatures in play, discard your opponent's hand, etc, etc. This deck is relatively standard as Dredge decks go. Nothing really much to talk about it, I don't think. Sideboard wise, you've got ley lines, which can deal with the obvious things that ley lines deal with. So this is good against Storm or things that say exile target player's graveyard. Leyline of the Void is for matchups where your opponent can do something really broken with their graveyard. Then you have this Dread Return package if you need to blow things up. Then you have this Ox of Agonis in case you need to fuel up. And then the rest of your sideboard is dedicated to blowing up Graveyard Hate. So I think we've more or less covered the important things here. It's a case of having enablers, which are basically all of these. And then it's payoffs, which are things like the Icarids, the Bridge from Belows, the Narcomoebas, the Hogak. And then you have the engine cards, which are your dredge pieces. So it's a quite straightforward deck with, you know, a decent chunk of 4-ofs here and there. Grief is a new card that I've not played Dredge with before, so I thought I'd give this a go. So we're going to jump into a league and see how we get on. We're into the first round and this is our opening hand. We have a Putrid Imp, which then we can discard a Grave Troll to pretty early off and then Breakthrough. So we have enough to get going with this, so we're going to keep this. It's not blisteringly fast, but I think turn 2 we should be able to mill over a lot of our library. Our opponent's playing a Mox Diamond, which means they're probably some sort of lands-based deck, which means they're going to have access to Bajuka Bog off of crop rotation, which is something I'm going to have to play around. Chalice of the Void for 1 is pretty good. That shuts off a lot of my things, so our plan now is to draw and discard at end of turn, because our 1-drop isn't going to do anything into a Chalice. It's not great, but it's something that this deck can do relatively well. I think we play out... Does it matter which land we play? I don't think so. I think we played this one out. Oh, sorry, I just completely blanked there. I was supposed to be keeping something in hand. So what we're going to do next turn is we're going to cast Breakthrough X is 1. Sorry, I said the plan I was going to do and just completely ignored myself there. Not a great start to the league, but I think we'll be okay with the Breakthrough here. It's because these decks don't tend to run counter magic. The Lion's Eye Diamond is a great draw here. Okay, sure. So we might just have to draw up and discard here, like we were supposed to do last turn. Unless we draw a Lion's Eye Diamond. We drew a Breakthrough. Sure. We're going to go to cleanup. I'm going to discard a Grave Troll like we should have done last turn. Unfortunately, now our opponent's more likely to be able to crop rotate into that. Scavenging Ooze is a pretty good one. They have the mana to do anything with it. If they don't have the mana this turn, then they're going to be in trouble. I would like to draw this. Go Grave Troll, please. So what do we hit? Let's pull this out so we can see. Nothing of value. Sure. There is another Dredger in there though, so I'm going to need 2 green mana to get rid of both of my Dredgers, which they do have the ability to do. So they're just going to be on the getting rid of my graveyard plan. It's unfortunate that they've had a draw that means they can probably win the game 1 versus Dredge, which isn't something that happens very often with a lot of decks. So we're going to lose both of those Dredges. So maybe what we're supposed to do here is draw regular cards until we can hit Lion's Eye Diamond. So I don't think drawing and discarding is going to work now. I think we're just going to start playing these out. So we've already milled over 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds, so we're not in a great spot here. In fact, I would say the exact opposite of being in a great spot. I can at least see some more cards of my opponent's deck. Some of these, so we can pitch 2 dredges here. So if we break through where X is 1, we can keep another breakthrough. But then they can 1-2 and then 1-2 us again. So I think we need more mana here. I don't think this breakthrough is going to do what we need it to do. I think we just have to pass the turn, because obviously anything we discard is going to pump their clock. I don't think I'd play this game particularly well. I'm not sure if the draw discard would have made... It would have given me 1 extra turn of dredging, perhaps. It was still a misplay, though. So we need... Yeah, so they're just eating cards out of my graveyard to keep me off of threshold for Microcephalic Colosseum. Kind of just need to draw mana sources, really. So if we have Lion's Eye Diamond... If we draw Lion's Eye Diamond, we're fine, I think. Because we play Lion's Eye Diamond, we cast Breakthrough for 1, we crack it, and then we should be able to mill over a load of our deck. And then we can probably win the game from there. So their deck doesn't seem like a regular sort of landsy build, though. So we'll see. Okay, so we have the City of Brass. So we play this out. So we can... If we break through where X is 1... We can put a lot of things into our graveyard. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to do anything. If we have... So we get 1 more draw after this, but all of my lands hurt me, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, so I think we have to go this turn. We don't really have a choice. Where X is 1. Okay, so what does this actually achieve for us? So we keep 1 of these cards. So we keep the Lion's Eye Diamond. We can use it to crack the Cephalic Colosseum and draw some more cards. Okay, so then we play this out. Then we crack this for... we don't have Ox of Agonis in our deck, so, and we definitely need the blue to crack the Colosseum. That's how the game works. Sure. I would like to draw some cards. Replace my first one with a Grey Troll. Replace my second one with a Stinkweed Imp. And then my last one with another Stinkweed Imp. Sure. And then we discard all these cards again. Always yield to these. Yes, I would like to put them into play. Yes. Yes. So we got here, we got Cabal Therapy, we got 1 bridge from below, 2 bridge from below. So these will net us creatures. So we cast Cabal Therapy, targeting there. And it's going to get countered by Chalice of the Void, but we're doing it so we can get the bridge from below triggers. So then we can use this to cast Hogak. We got another... I quite like another Cabal Therapy, yes, sure. We get rid of these lands to... Lion's Eye Diamond doesn't do anything. So you have a Hogak in play. We don't have any way of sacrificing this. So what we do on our next turn is we get 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have all 4 Icarids. So depending on how much mana they have, depends on what they can achieve on the next turn. I should be able to deal a thumpingly large amount of damage next turn if it comes to it, but I probably have to block the Scavenging Ooze. But they probably won't attack with a Scavenging Ooze. It will remove my 2 bridges. This is the power of Dredge, even though I had an incredibly slow start and they had a piece of Graveyard Hate. We're still doing okay. They can't crop rotation for Bajuka Bog either. They got an Endurance in their hand, which is not great. Oh, they had the natural Bajuka Bog, did they? Interesting. So we have a Hogak though. We're not really in the market for casting spells at the moment. I don't think it's getting any better for us. We don't attack. We can attack with the Narcomoeba as well. Four mana. Minsk and Boo. Sure, this doesn't. This does kill me. They just sacrifice their Scavenging Ooze. Sure. Yep. So in case you haven't seen Minsk and Boo before, lets them sacrifice creatures to. Basically, lets Fling is one of its abilities. It's quite the magic card. So let's go sideboarding. So what do they have? They have some artifacts I'd like to destroy, but the ways I have of destroying them are all 1 mana. So I'm not a big lover of how that's worked out. Leyline of Sanctity shuts down Bajuka Bog, which is going to be something they're probably going to be leaning on. We saw other black spells, so they'd be sort of a prime candidate for playing Leylines. So we're probably going to want the Ray of Revelation. The Nature's Claim is going to be difficult to leverage, I think, purely because they have the chalices as well. So if we board these in, we're going to end up a little bit behind, I think. Sideboarding with Dredge is a bit of an art form, to be honest. So the most broken things you can do are with the breakthroughs generally, but they're also not great against sideboard cards because you have to discard your hand to use it. So it's a bit of an all or nothing. So you can always trim one of your weakest Dredger, which is the Golgari Thug, and give us a Ray of Revelation. I think we can probably take out a Cabal Therapy to give us access to the Leyline of Sanctity. If we trim on a breakthrough, gives us another Leyline. In this case, I do want to trim on Icarids. I think we can probably trim on Icarids because they're a bit slower than the Narcomoebas. So we're going to go with this one. This is for the Bajuka Bog and also potential Leyline. We're kind of going to be stone cold to the Chalice if they can make it on turn 1. But we are on the play. So we keep a really broken hand and we hope for the best. This is not a broken hand. We'll mulligan this. I don't hate this one. It puts a Dredger in the graveyard. Okay, so it didn't start with anything in play, so that's good for us. Play this, add blue, we'll cast Careful Study. We need to keep a black card for this, so we're going to have to pitch the Bisham Low for this. Let's see what we get here. So they can Challenge to the Void for 1, unless I take the Mox Diamond. If I take the Mox Diamond, they're going to be behind, so I think we take the Mox Diamond and we just hope that next turn is a big turn. So I'm going to take the Mox Diamond. And that's it. So next turn we cast Faithless Looting and we hopefully dredge into some good things. They had the Bajuka Bog off the top. Sure. Why not? Why not do that to me? I see. And they're playing Chalice for 0 for the purposes of Lion's Eye Diamond. I guess this is not going to be the day for Dredge, is it? So we may as well try and get rid of some things. Cephalid Colosseum is more likely to let me rebuild later on, if that's a thing that happens, but at the moment we're kind of screwed. So that's pretty annoying. So now they're going to play a Chalice. They should play a Chalice on 1 here. They played the Scavenging Ooze. Interesting. That's still fine. I think the Chalice for 1 is actually better when I don't have any Dredges in the bin. So we got nothing going on here. So we'll play this out. Surprised I didn't play out the other Chalice they had. But like they're in a commanding position. Don't get me wrong, but I feel they could have closed the door completely with a Chalice for 1. So neither of these do anything. So just in case they don't play the Chalice, I think we keep the Putrid Imp, so we at least have a chance of putting something into the graveyard next turn if we draw something important. So. Okay, so now they played the Chalice. That hand of theirs was a good hand that I picked apart to give myself the opportunity to win, but sometimes your opponent draws the Bajuka Bog off the top, which is a singleton in their deck. But on to the next round. Okay, we're in round 2, and this is my opening hand. So I can Cabal Therapy myself and put 2 Stinkweed Imps in the graveyard. So they'll see my hand. But next turn we can hopefully dredge most of our library. Okay, so they could be an endurance deck. still. They could be like some sort of Bant deck. Okay, they're pausing in my upkeep, which doesn't fill me with a great amount of joy here. So we got the Force of Will. Sure. If they don't Force of Will out, they lose the game. But I still have 2 dredges in there, so I'm just going to be on a natural slow dredge here. What do we have here? Do we want to bring this one back this turn or not? I think we have enough things. And this is going to be a slightly slower matchup. So we don't want this to get Swords to Plowshared. I'm just going to draw the Stinkweed Imp. And what do we hit? Not a lot. Our opponent's fetching. Okay, so they look like some sort of Uro pile here. So they're probably going to have, they probably are going to have endurances in their deck, which is bad for us. But it does mean that we're looking at ley lines for the sideboard. Okay, we're not going to bring this guy back again. We're still going to leave him in there until we can do more. What have we hit here? Okay, so at least we can get a bit more going next turn if we do bring him back. So, yeah, so we have the Cabal Therapy and the Bridge from Below. They'll get a window to Swords of Plowshares, it's still. Cauldron complete, sure. So we have 2 Icarids here. I'm going to go to draw and draw the Troll. Still didn't hit the real big payoffs here. So don't have Swords of Plowshares up. So I think what we do here is we cast a... So my bridges will go if we attack into them right now. So we're going to Cabal Therapy then. And we're going to name Cauldron Complete because we know it's in their hand. So they're brainstorming to keep it out of their hand. So what we're probably going to name here is something that they can't cast that they would put in their hand right now. Because they're going to ship the Cauldron. Obviously they could be playing mind games on me, but I'm going to name Swords to Plowshares. So we got the Swords to Plowshares. Good, good, good. So now we have an option here. We can Cabal Therapy ourselves for Hogak, make a Hogak that they will struggle to interact with, and also give us more creatures, and it will be bigger than the Cauldron Complete. I guess the Teferi can bounce Hogak, which is a bit of an issue. So I think we probably Cabal Therapy targeting them, and we're going to sacrifice this. And then we're going to name the Teferi, I think. We're playing this game, aren't we? What are they worried that I'm going to name here? So they obviously want to protect one of the things in their hand. So I'm gonna play that they're gamesing me here and name Cauldron. Double Prismatic Ending though. Shame we don't have another one really, isn't it? Okay, so that's the end of the turn. So after next turn we'll be able to discard cards into our bin, so we'll be able to discard the Hogak and go from there. But they have a lot of options here, but they only have 1 white source. So the Prismatic Ending is really cramping their style. They can go and get the Scalding Tarn that can go and get them a white source, of course. So now they're gonna... Okay, so they've gone for the Teferi. Sure, that's one of my guys. Sure, and the Cauldron. Exile a black creature. The Grief is a free one. We already have a gold. So we'll remove the thugs. We've already got the Troll there. Okay, so no Narcomoebas. No anything really. That's a bit upsetting, isn't it? Where are these going? So I can either deal them 3, or I can... So I attack them with everything. They'll block one of these, perhaps. How bothered am I about Teferi? I think we just attack them with all creatures here. We're probably going to lose a zombie token along the way. But their creature can't die, so they won't be able to remove my bridges. So they block one of those. It takes 6, but I'm going to make a bunch of zombies. Okay, yeah. So I was just giving it up there. Alright, let's go into the sideboarding. So this is like a Bant pile, probably splashing Pyroblast. So what are they going to be bringing in against me? I'm assuming Surgical Extraction is probably going to be one of the main ones, but it might be an Endurance deck because we saw green. So these will protect against Endurance. It's going to be Endurance and Surgical Extraction is what I'm guessing here. They don't seem like they're going to be a Leyline deck. I don't think they're going to be running any of the singleton artifacts. I think they're going to be more on the spells plan. So this is what we're probably going for. So the breakthroughs are a little bit risky here because of the fact that they can counter it, or so they can get, let me draw and discard my hand, and if I don't have the ley line, then I'm more susceptible, so it's harder to play around. This is an all or nothing type card. We can trim on a thug because it's the weakest. The putrid imp is quite nice here, so I think we'll probably keep the imps in and take out a careful study. Yeah, sure, I think this is fine because we've already got the grease for surgical extractions and endurances if we need them. Right, so this is my opening hand. It has the ley line, but this doesn't really go anywhere, and I don't have the mana just to go around it, so we're going to have to mulligan this one. Lets me grief, but then I don't have any follow-up play, so we have to mulligan this one as well. Dredge is a deck that mulligans a lot, to be fair. Again, this one doesn't do anything, so we have to mulligan. Okay, so this is the first one we can keep. This on the bottom. So we can go for the really broken start, which I think is probably what we just have to do here. So if we bottom these, that gives us the most power that we can have. The fact that they're not fetching a ponder here is worrying to me. Let's play this. Let's play this. Does this resolve? I can't imagine. Depends what their hate is. If they've got a surgical extraction, then maybe they're just going to let this go and then let me go all in. Okay, so they've gone for the force of negation. Sure. We're going to cast this Faithless Looting. So we can pitch 2 trolls and then grief them, which I don't hate. So we're going to cast this Exile black card from my hand. Exile this one. Okay, they're probably going to brainstorm away whatever their plan was here. Sure, the brainstorm. Unlike Cabal Therapy, I actually get to see their hand and take something, so I should be able to hit something from their hand. I also haven't played Dredge since before Endurance came out, so my sideboarding and things were a little bit rusty because I don't really know exactly the optimal lines because it's been a while. Kozilek's Return, sure. They brought that in to kill my zombies. If they have a piece of graveyard hate this turn, that's very bad for me. But they're pondering. So if they're keeping up the Tundra, it means they probably have a Plow, which is one of the things they hid, because Plow is quite good against this deck. It's not amazing, but it's one of the... Okay, so they had the Surgical Extraction. Sure, it's going to be one of those days. So we have a bunch of draws that are okay here. Our opponent doesn't have a lot of resources now, though. I think it's alright to play this out. So the other option is hold this until I have something in hand to discard. But because they only have 1 card in hand, I kind of just want to get a little bit of damage going on them. Okay, so we have an Icarid. So next time we can attack them for a little bit more. Now the issue is if they do have an Endurance here, it can attack into me. But I haven't seen Endurance yet, and this will definitely bait one out, so at least it'll give me more information for the next game. Because I'm already quite far behind here. So they didn't flash in an Endurance there. Okay, maybe they don't have an Endurance, I don't know. We want to keep this game going long enough that I get to see more of their deck. Even if we don't win, because the time it takes to win with this deck isn't a huge amount. Discard a card. Discard this Icarid. So that is the line where we can get slightly punished for playing that. So we're going to play this out in case we spike a land next turn and we can cast a Faithless Looting. Okay. Okay. I would have liked to have been able to keep the Cephalid Colosseum, but that's not how that card works. So if they have Snapcaster Mages in their deck, they can Snapcast the Surgical, which will be bad for me. So we're going to Stinkweed Imp. Okay, always yield to these. Okay, so this doesn't actually do anything this turn. But what we can do is we can cast this guy for the mediocre beatdowns. Sometimes you have to, if they've mulliganed to Oblivion to find the piece to try and beat you, sometimes your really, really bad guys can get there. So they have a spell, which isn't great for us. It looks like a Teferi by the mana they've tapped. Oh no, just a... Okay, sure. That saves them 1 damage a turn. Halve my clock. They have a follow-up additional Surgical Extraction, which is not great for me. So we're just going to continue beating down with mediocre creatures. I do not want to Icarid this turn. This is okay, but I think we're going to save it. Creatures. So if we pop this now, we just mill ourselves for 2. If we wait till next turn, we might be able to hit into a breakthrough or something as well. So we might be able to get more value. And this game is going relatively slowly. Our opponent has got no cards in hand. So there's not a huge rush right now. But that obviously can change very quickly if they start deploying some of their threats. We are not going to bring this back. What are we going to draw? A Mana Confluence. Sure. So we can add red and cast this. Wowzers. Sure, I guess. So next time we get to Faithless Looting with 1 card in hand again. But then we're sort of running a bit dry on spells we can cast because all our lands hurt us. Again, they don't have a clock on yet, but it only takes 1 Stoneforge Mystic to change that. I don't think we activate this turn. I think next turn is the turn we go on that one if we have to. Okay, so that's quite a good one to draw. Let's cast this. Red, red, red. Okay, so the Bridge from Below and the Icarid are fine to go. So the one thing that could punish me here is a Shark Typhoon, but I haven't seen any Shark Typhoons yet. So next turn we bring back 2 Icarids. Okay, so we've got a Jitte. That doesn't do anything. Sure. Exile this Grief. Exile this Grief. Do we activate this first? I think we cast this first in case we find anything that... Ooh, that's pretty good. Discard these 2. We'll cast this Light Diamond. Activate this for triple red. We'll cast this Faithless Looting. We'll draw the Stinkweed Imp. Draw the Stinkweed Imp. Discard these 2. So now we have more Bridge from Belows. Oh, okay, yeah. So we managed to grind through the Surgical Extractions. So what the thing with Dredge is, 1 piece of Graveyard Hate doesn't beat Dredge. You need 2 pieces. Now, cards like Rest in Peace are 2 pieces in 1, but you need 2 separate things to deal with it. Like, usually Dredge can beat a ley line, but it's a ley line and something else that's the problem. Or, you know, ley lines backed up with counter magic. All right, on to the next round. All right, so this is my opening hand. I'm on play. This is an interesting one, to be honest. I can't really do anything exciting with it. If this was one of the other lands, this would be a great hand. But as it is, I don't know if I can keep it. So I play that out and play that out. Crack this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in my graveyard. And then I start slow dredging. I think we have to mulligan this. Okay, now this is the better hand. We can keep this. They're going to know what I'm playing very quickly if they don't know by now. So they're going to be Force of Willing this. I have a lot of enablers though. Sure. Sure. So we'll tap this for blue. We'll cast Careful Study. Can I have Careful Study? Okay, no. So I think we pitch both of these. And then we're going to Careful Study. Now this could play into a Daze, but if it doesn't, then okay, they're getting another Force of Will. Which means they don't have an Endurance in hand because you would Endurance then instead. Should pass turn. So next turn we dredge this, then we get to activate Cephalic Colosseum. Which is going to be pretty bad news for them. So play out our Cephalic Colosseum, our bonus Cephalic Colosseum. 1, 2, 3. And then we discard Grave Troll, Stinkweed. Always yield to this. Yes. Going to cast this by exiling a black card. And we get a zombie out of it. Okay, so we didn't get to see much of their deck. So they could be playing the High Tide deck. We saw Island, which is an unusual start, which would make me lean towards bringing in these Leyline of Sanctities in case they try and combo me that way. Snow-covered islands. The snow-covered islands doesn't necessarily mean anything, but you are more likely to see snow-covered islands with a deck playing the Flying Snake, because that relies on snow-covered permanents. And if you're playing that, you're more likely to be playing green, which means you're more likely to be playing Endurance. So that plus the potential for High Tide is why I'm going for the ley lines here. Now, this could be wrong, but again, we've got another game to find that one out. So the breakthrough, we can trim one off. We can probably trim an Icarid, and then we trim the weakest dredger. So we're gonna submit this. This is my opening hand. It lets me do the broken thing, and if that fails, I have double enablers. So we're gonna keep this. Okay, so they start with a Leyline of Sanctity in play, so I can't Cabal Therapy them, and I can't grief them. Interesting. That's a Leyline that I'm okay to play around. That's not going to cost me the game. Getting snow-covered basics into Ponder. Sure. Play this out. Let's see if we can resolve a Lion's Eye Diamond. We can. So what we do here is we hold priority. We're holding control nice and firmly here. I'm going to cast this. And then we're going to crack this. Floating triple red. So you need to hit another dredger. We did hit another dredger. Excellent. And we discard these two. Put this into play. Always yield. And then we flash this back using the 3 red we just had from the Lion's Eye Diamond. So we get this Skullgirl Grave Troll. We get this Stinkweed Imp. And we discard these two. Put this into play. How many bridges? We've got 1 bridge, 2 bridge, 3 bridge, 4 bridge. So we have all of our bridges. Do we have any Cabal Therapies? We do have a Cabal Therapy. So I'm going to cast Cabal Therapy targeting me. I'm going to sacrifice this to do it. Plus 2 mace, of course. So we can cast this Hogak. So this is pay black. Pay black. I'll just pay with all of these, I think. And get rid of land and a Lion's Eye Diamond. They can counter this spell. So maybe I shouldn't have paid that way. But if they let everything else go through, they clearly didn't have a counter spell. So you've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 damage plus an Icarid. So they're dead on turn 2. A Ponder, sure. There we go. They conceded. Yeah, so they were going to get hit for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. They're going to get hit for exactly 20. No, they're going to get hit for 23 next turn. So, excellent. On to the next round. Okay, so I won the die roll, but my hand doesn't have any dredges, which is a shame, but we have to mulligan this. So this hand doesn't have... It's going to force me into Lion's Eye Diamonding, which isn't always where you want to be, I don't think, but it's going to put 3 dredges in the graveyard, so I can manually dredge. I'm going to keep this. And we'll put the weakest dredger on the bottom. Oh, it's Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, so the Lion's Eye Diamond resolved. So we can crack it in our opponent's turn if we need to. Or we can do it in my own upkeep. Depends what we think our opponent is doing. A Steam Vents. Okay, so this is looking like pretty much bog standard Delver. Oh! It went all the way through. For Christ's sake, Cyrus. I thought I was yielding till end of turn, but obviously I pressed the wrong button there. Great. So we're now a turn behind. Let's play out an Archimedes. Very annoyed at myself there. So I basically missed 5 dredges there. A ledger shredder, sure. So I'm going to do this in my upkeep. Stinkweed Imp. 2 Narcomoebas out of the deal. It's pretty good. So I've got 1 bridge, so I can block the ledger shredder and get a token out of it. But they can lightning bolt their own guy to stop a bridge. But obviously they'll be lightning bolting their own guy. So they have to kill their own guy if they want to remove my bridges. Short expected for the region is fine. We need to just F6 through this. Okay, so the question is, do I want to preserve my life total here? I think we can block this one and get 1 token. Maybe save these when I have more bridges. Sure. So not even holding up lightning bolt. A little bit disrespectful. I'm doing this one now. No, we don't want that one. We'll dredge this. So what do we find here? Nothing too great, to be honest. On the slow boat to Dredge Town. Pyroblasting my Narcomoeba. Sure. I get a guy. Sure. So they're just killing all my guys. Going that route. Sure. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. They do this turn. Okay. Yeah. Okay, they didn't pump the guy, so I can't block, so it's got me dead next turn. I think I'm going to be punished for my unfamiliarity with Magic Online there. Murktide Regent, sure. What creatures have we got? Golgari Thug can go. And then we'll draw Grave Troll. So we've got Hogak there, but Hogak doesn't do anything here. We need to hit Narcomoebas to block that guys. Nope, I think we're just dead. Sure. So that extra dredge wouldn't have made any difference. Which is sad, that's Delver for you. Okay, so Delver decks, they tend to run Surgical Extractions and Grafdigger's Cage. I cannot do anything about Surgical Extractions. I can, however, do something about Grafdigger's Cage. Now, there is an option of boarding in the ley lines against all of their threats, but I don't think that's a great plan. I'm not opposed to these because they actually have a big creature that I need to get out of the way. So I'm interested in these cards. That's a lot of cards. So we trim on the Breakthrough, trim the Weakest Dredger. We want to keep these in. We don't have as much time, so we kind of need the Icarids, really. Maybe because we don't have time, we need the Breakthroughs in as well. Tricky. The Thug, the Imp is good here and gives me a chance to play around things a little bit more. This 1 Nature's Claim, is that going to be worth? Is that going to be doing me anything? I guess we can trim a Careful Study for a second one. And do we want a third one over a Breakthrough? Or do we just want to go fast? I think we just want to go fast here. Obviously we trim 1 Careful Study, we don't want to trim any more. Okay, we're going to do this. Now they might have some weird tech that I haven't seen, but okay, so what do we have here? No dredges. What do we have here? We have the really broken start, so we're going to keep this. And we're going to put this on the bottom of our library. Our opponent has mulliganed to 5 cards. Sure. This is tricky, because if I play out... You know, if I go for this, and they have the surgical extraction or the counter spell or whatever, then I'm in a little spot of bother. So what I'm actually going to do, I think, is play this out and cast this Cabal Therapy targeting them first. And I'm going to name Surgical Extraction. I think that's the more likely one for them to have. Okay, so I didn't have any of those things. Okay. So we play this out without any counter magic. And then we pass the turn. And then next time we play Colosseum out. And then we break through. And we can either divert mana into the Colosseum, or we can... We have a bunch of options we can do. So we're not doing anything on their turn. Polluted Delta. Ponder. Okay, well this has gone very well for us here. So we're going to play this out. And then we're going to hold priority. We're going to tap this for red. We're going to cast this. We're going to sacrifice this for triple red. This is the reason why this is better than just breakthrough is because you're guaranteed to hit on your second dredges. Because you're going to discard them. So if there's a choice between the two, you want to do this one. Okay, so we have a Force of Negation. Which is going to exile it as well, which is pretty good find for them. Okay. Sure. That went really well for them. So it didn't matter which play I did there. But next turn, we dredge or go dredge control, then we cast Cephalic Colosseum on the hopes that we hit another dredger. Yeah, because both the flashbacked... so the only difference is I could crack that for red and then break through. So maybe that's slightly better. Okay, so then we're gonna just target me. I would like to draw this. I would like to draw this. Oh dear. Discard, discard, discard. Always yield to these. Yes, I would like to put my Nakamura into play. So we got here, we got Cabal Therapy, we got a load of bridges. So we're just going to name, we're just going to cast Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent here. And we know they have a Pyroclasm, so we're just going to take the Pyro. Okay, they're just going to concede. Okay, so we didn't actually see what their graveyard hated choice was. So I have to assume it's going to be the same again. Yeah, I think we just have to play the same again. Maybe we want the third Nature's Claim because we're going to be on the draw. I think we take out Icarid. Might be wrong. I don't think we have the time to grind with the Icarid as quickly. Like the Icarids will sort of be like a thing we get to. So what does this hand do? It puts this. Okay, this hand is fine. Are they going to have a threat on turn 1? They are going to have a threat on turn 1. And they're going to have a little bit of looting to go with it. They kept the top card of their library, did they? That's not great for me. So, choices here. I think we play out the City of Brass. Because both of our plays cost mana. So we don't want to... If we cast Grief, we have to pitch the Putrid Imp and then Faces Looting. Okay, let's see what's going on in their hand. Okay, so they have a Surgical Extraction. So we can get rid of the Surgical Extraction. Okay, excellent. Okay, so then we tap this. Always yield to this. So we know their hand, don't we? They don't have any counter spells, so we pitch this, and Narcobe is kind of annoying to be in my hand. We'll pitch the Mana Confluence, and we'll play this out. So next turn we're going to have a bigger turn, because we've got the time to. There's Misty Rainforest we knew about. I would like you to cast a card that just cast another Dragon's Rage channel or something. Okay, Expressive Iteration, sure. They survey and they surveil the Leisure Shredder, sure. And Predict, sure. We're going to draw this. Okay, so we didn't hit what we wanted to here, which is annoying. Do we think we can hit it off of a bunch more cards? Yes, I think we do. So we're going to crack this for red, red, red. And then we're going to flashback Faithless Looting. Kagari Thug. Stinkweed Imp. Okay, some of the big boys. Okay, then we're going to Sephir Colosseum. Target me. Pay blue. Let's keep going. Stinkweed Imp. Stinkweed Imp. Grave Troll. Discard them all. Always yield. Yes, yes. Okay, so now we can Cabal Therapy. Targeting them. Sacrifice this. Always yield to bridges. We know they've got an Unholy Heat, so we'll just name it. Sure. How many more of these do we have? Got one more. We'll sacrifice this. And we'll name... I think the Ponder is better because it sees 4 cards. No more Ponder for you. Sure, so the only card you've got in your hand is Expressive Iteration. Is there a Hogak in here? There's not a Hogak in here. Oh, I've done alright there. Expressive Iteration we knew about. Yep. What do you got for me? A Mishra's Bauble. Something that can cast. That has to attack. We're not blocking. We can't block. We'll deal to these. So get this Grief. Okay, yeah. So they see the writing on the wall. They're getting hit for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, as well as me getting to dredge into other stuff. So we beat Delver, so we're 3-1 now. So it was just that horrible Maverick deck to start with when I was also a little rusty. There's a problem. So we're going to go into the final round now, see if we can get a nice 4-1 out of it. So this is our opening hand. Doesn't have any dredges, so we ship it. What does this hand do? It has no lands, but it puts a Golgari Grave Troll into the graveyard on turn 1. Alternatively, I just draw and discard on turn 1, I think is actually the better play. No, because I'm mulliganing, aren't I? So it's going to take more. I don't know if this is good enough, to be honest. It means any land I draw live as well. Opponents begin with 7 cards in hand. It's certainly a choice. Like, I lose to Endurance pretty hard with this hand. Okay, so do I want to take a draw as well off of it or not? Or I can mulligan. This is a tricky one. If I cast a Lion's Eye Diamond and it doesn't resolve, and I'm in a big spot of bother, I think we'll keep reluctantly. Kind of want all of these cards, really, because we keep the Careful Study in case the Lion's Eye Diamond gets countered. So I think because it's pre-board, I think we put the Thug on the bottom. Just say done with it. And then we see if this resolves. Okay, that resolved. Interesting. Sure, let's see what our opponent's doing. I don't want to get hit by a Bazooka Bog on turn 1. So they're probably thinking I'm Storm, like the Epic Storm, because that plays out a lot of its things early on. Okay, Once Upon a Time. Twin Shot Sniper. Okay, so this is red-green Painter then. I'm quite familiar with this deck because I'm on the Painter Discord. So they have Solar Lantern in their deck usually. No turn 1 play is good for us. Okay, we're just going to make black mana. The jig is now up. Golgari Gravetrot, please. This isn't great. We got one more Dredger in there. He's not a strong Dredger either. Our opponent's got a free roll this turn. I should be able to assemble the combo. Well, they can. They can have a Soul Land and Lion's Eye Diamond. We need 6 mana total. There's a Saga. Sure. So they got the combo in 3 turns. Favor the Mirror Breaker. I would like to dredge this, please. Always yield. Use Narcomonia Invisibility. Yes, please. Okay, so we have 1 bridge from below. So if we Cabal Therapy here, we'll only get 1 token, which isn't really a lot of value, and we need a lot more value from our cards. Now, our opponent is a combo deck, so we might want to pick that apart. But the issue is, they know our only interaction that we have with their combo is Cabal Therapy. So they have the Grindstone in play via the Urza Saga, but they don't have the Painted Servant in play. Now, knowing that we are a combo deck that can only interact with Cabal Therapy, they should have played their Painted Servant out if they had one. So I'm not going to Cabal Therapy this turn, because I would have played out my Painted Servant if I had one. Now, let it be known that this could go wrong and they could still have a Painted Servant, but this is what I'm basing my decision on. So let's see how we roll. And next turn we try and rip apart what's going on. So in the day they're just going to be replacing cards in their hand anyway this turn. Okay, so they've discarded a Painted Servant, which means they might have a spare Painted Servant. Which means they can probably kill me next turn. Yep, so there's a Painted Servant. So if I'd have named Painted Servant, I might have been alright last turn. That's a little bit annoying. I would like to... this one. Yes, this is going to stack. Okay, so we've got another bridge from below. What does that do for us here, though? There's a problem, because they have Painted Servant. I don't really have a way of removing this Painted Servant. They're not going to block. Yeah, I should have attacked with all my guys. I should have gone for the Cabal Therapy last turn. Let's see if they correctly navigate their turn, which I'm 99% sure they're going to. A lot of respect for Painter players as an active member on the Painter Discord myself. Get the Grindstone. Yeah. Play Mountain. Sure. So I definitely should have Cabal Therapy that turn. Leyline of Sanctity is borderline impossible for them to beat. Nature's Claim has a whole bunch of targets here. So that's a lot of cards come in. Not convinced the Grief is where I want to be. I don't think discarding stuff is going to be the most relevant here. And these are just better protection pieces. Do a little bit of trimming. Do you want to trim an Icarid? I don't think we want to trim an Icarid because this is probably going to end up being a grindy matchup if I can stick a ley line straight away. Got a break. Can't really count any more enablers. Maybe it's the Icarid. Maybe it's the Icarid. Okay. Okay, so I'm on the play. I can turn 1, get them good, so I'm going to keep this. If they have a ley line in play, which some of them do play, I can nature's claim it as well before they have the ability to interact with my nature's claim. So I'm happy with this hand. I could always just dredge into nothing, but I get to dredge a lot on turn 1. Okay, so our opponent has gone to 5, and they have not started with the ley line in play. Interesting to me. So we're not going to... Yes, we have to play this one out. Sure. So play this out. Play this out. We'll hold control. We'll add red. We'll cast this. We'll crack this for triple red. And then we'll resolve our faces looting. Sting we didn't please. Sting we didn't please. Let me discard these 2. Always yield to this. Use its ability. Look at our graveyard. And then we're going to flash this back. Choose which replacement effects. Go Great Troll, please. And Distinct Imp. And discard 2 cards. So what do we have here? So we have Icarid, no Cabal Therapy. No, we have 1 Cabal Therapy, but we have no bridges. So the one thing that loses me this game is if they have a Soul Guide Lantern. So I'm going to cast this and I'm going to name Soul Guide Lantern. They did not have Soul Guide Lantern. Okay, so they have a bridge. That's fine. We're going to win before the bridge is an issue, I think. The earliest they can cast it is turn 2. So we should be able to Cabal Therapy them next turn. Because we're going to be dredging again. Sure, well done. Always yield. We're going to get rid of this Putrid Imp. And we're going to get rid of this. And we're not going to get rid of the other one. We would like to draw... Let's go Grave Troll. We're yielding to this. Yes. Okay, so now discarding the Ensnaring Bridge doesn't help here. We have a bridge from below. We don't have the Cabal Therapy. So we're just going to cast a Hogak. Cast this. Wait a second. That doesn't work, does it? We need an additional black or a green. We don't have the black or a green because I can't use my mana for it. Because you can't use mana from lands. Okay. I think we just have to let this go. If we attack, we have 1 bridge from below. So we're going to attack. Because if they trade a welder, that means my... Oh, nearly pressed the wrong button there. Yeah, so if they let their welder die, they I still get a token because of the way it stacks. They're my triggers. So I get to put them on house I like. So I would still get a 2-2. I would only lose 1 bridge. But they would lose a lot more. Because the welder is the thing they're going to use their ensnaring bridge. So the welder's gone, painter's gone, tiger, ensnaring bridge. Okay. So what black creatures are we actually going to exile to this? We got a Golgari Grave Troll, so I think we need to start making some stuff happen. So we got 2 Golgari Grave Trolls in here, so we're just going to get rid of Stinkweed Imps. And then we're going to dredge this and hopefully dredge into some really nice things. A bridge from below and a Cabal Therapy. These are both good. The ensnaring bridge is awkward, to say the least. I think I'm going to lose this game if I'm being perfectly honest. So I think we go to attacks. And then see what happens with the attacks. Okay, so the Painted Servant is just soaking up damage. Sure. So casting Hogak doesn't help a lot here. Ensnaring Bridge, if they weld it, they're going to have to weld their painter away. Okay, so I think we got another Golgari we do. Okay, so we're going to Cabal Therapy, targeting them. I'm going to sacrifice this one. And we're going to get these lovely Bridge from Below triggers. Which is going to let us cast the Hogak. So if we hit the Ensnaring Bridge in their hand, they can definitely Welder it in next turn and survive. Very macabre. Do I have another Cabal Therapy? So I don't. So if they have a land, if they draw a land, they get to cast. So they got one card in hand. Is it a land? I don't think it's a land. So next turn they can cast a spell to keep their hand with only 2 cards in. So they have to cast 2 spells and get rid of their painter if they want to Ensnaring Bridge me. But it will get rid of the painter and stop that kill. I think I do have to name the Ensnaring Bridge here and rely on their hand not being able to cast enough spells. Okay, so they did have the land, so it was the correct name because they can cast it anyway. This way. Yep, okay. So I don't have my Bridge from Below triggers anymore. So I don't get to cast the Hogak this turn, although the Hogak's going to be stuck under a bridge anyway. So we have to pass the turn. I think I'm going to lose this game. I think Painter is quite a flexible deck with a lot of tools. Like when this ticks down, if they can't win the game immediately, they can always just get a Graveyard Hate. So we're kind of priced into winning this next turn. So we get rid of Putrid Imp. We've got Grave Troll, so we can get rid of Stinkweed Imp. And then we can get rid of Stinkweed Imp. So we go to attacks. They weld in the... Yeah, so they have it here. So what they do is they weld out the Painter for Ensnaring Bridge. Or they weld out a token for Ensnaring Bridge. They can weld out a Painter, then next turn they can get the Grindstone, float 3 mana, activate Grindstone, weld out Grindstone for Painter. So they've got me coming and going here. I don't think there's anything I can really do to win this game. They have to play incredibly wrong here in order to win this, in order for me to win this game. Possibly I should have boarded in the Archon and Dredge return, but I was already boarding in 6 cards. Maybe I'm not supposed to board in the Hate for the Soul Guide Lantern. I did have an Nature's Claim in my opening hand, but I just went for the go hard and go fast. I think we're done here. Alright, so we got our money back and we got treasure chest, whatever, so not particularly exciting. Let's have a look at the deck list. So this is what we ran. The main deck I thought felt really good. I think the Griefs are a good addition to this deck. They're black creatures, they pitch to Icarid, and they just give you a little bit of extra ability to go off on turn 1, so I think it makes you better versus the decks that might be able to counter you. And it's also like having pre-boarded stuff in some regards. As for the sideboard, I'm not convinced Ray of Revelation is where you want to be. Yes, it has flashback, but I don't think you're going to be flashing it back very often. I think the Wisp Mare, which was a big thing for a while, I think that's the better enchantment destruction because it's a 3 mana spell, so when you evoke it, it still has 3 mana cost, so it gets under Chalice. So if they got a Chalice and a Ley Line, you can get under the Chalice and blow it up. For that same reason, I've also always had a bit of a soft spot for Ingot Chewer. Obviously, the reason for running Nature's Claim is because it's versatile. And these two are for the white creatures like Containment Priest, so you need to have a way of dealing with that. I think the best way of dealing with Containment Priest is to try and have a really explosive turn 1, if possible. The Ashen Rider Dread Return plan I think is good, but I think it's hard to... It's not always easy to fit it in some of the matchups because you can't cut too many cards in your deck because you're a 60 card synergy deck list, so kind of everything is a part of the greater whole. There are some manaless deck lists that are doing pretty well at the moment, so I might try one of those on a later video. But yeah, I was okay with this deck. I didn't feel as nice as the Elf deck I played the other day, but I enjoyed dredging again. But again, it has some very swingy games. You tend to win the games very easily or lose them very easily. But there is a lot more play to it than people think, like playing around Graveyard Hate a little bit. But oh well, that's the end of that week. So I hope you enjoyed that one. If you're still here, please subscribe. I need to get my subscribers up. It will really help me out with the channel. And if you want to throw a like or a comment my way, that's also great too. Until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.